I just need to briefly say, I just learned about TED Talks about a week ago. I called Alexander and I said, "You didn't tell me this was such a big deal." I was quite nervous, and some of you that do know me, you know that I love to speak. I love to share my story because I have a really great story to tell, because I live it every day. So here I am, and you're going to get to hear a little bit about me and what I'm going to do next. I own and operate Butcher Creek Farms. Part of the issue maybe that I had this week was I don't own a TV. I don't have high-speed internet, and I just learned what a TED Talk was. Okay? So here's my PowerPoint. I'm going to share with you my story, and then I'm going to change your hearts and your minds. Repurposing, I'm going to touch a little bit, because that's what I'm doing. I'm repurposing my life. Born and raised in Carlisle, graduated high school in 2001. This makes me 28 years old, if you're trying to do the math, thinking, yeah, how do you make this happen? I graduated Iowa State University in 2006 with my bachelor's degree. I will shortly share with you why this is the anchor around my neck. And coming up in February of 2012, Rotary International has selected me as an ambassadorial scholar. I will be headed to New Zealand in Wellington, and I will be funded to get my master's in sustainable agriculture. And when I come back in a year, I will grow more tomatoes than you've ever seen this side of the Mississippi. I was an insurance agent for 3 years. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to graduate. You're supposed to get a job. Supposed to. And I was along the lines of being supposed to, and I was along the lines of doing, as what the previous TED Talk mentioned, doing what was right, and then something changed my life. January 3rd, 2008, I get a call from my dad. My dad calls me, and my mom and my sister are out of town. We have a total of 4 people, Mom, Dad, Jenny, and Katie. My dad calls me because the other women are out of town. He calls me up and he goes, "Squirt!" That's my name. "What are you doing?" I said, "Dad, I'm kind of busy. I got a chamber ribbon cutting. It's in 20 minutes. I said, I've got a low battery on my cell phone. I'm busy. What do you got?" And he said, "You wouldn't believe it. It was the funniest thing today. I went to the eye doctor. The eye doctor said, I was telling him I had some double vision this afternoon, and I was worried about it, and the eye doctor said I should go down to the hospital and get an MRI done." I said, "Why would he tell you to do that?" He goes, "Oh, I don't know." And I said, "So did you go?" And he says, "No, I go tomorrow." And so he goes tomorrow, and he went the next day to the hospital. And then my dad calls me that night. He says, "Squirt, you wouldn't believe it." I said, "Wouldn't believe what?" He said, "They found a tumor in my head." And my life stopped. And, I'm the baby. I'm only 28 years old. I was 25 at the time. I'm the baby. I'm not the one that's supposed to take this information and then pass it along to everybody else. So I said, "Okay." I said, "What do you need, Dad?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "We're going to find out, though." My dad's journey started at Mercy Hospital in Des Moines, and they said, "Get to Iowa City as fast as you can." My dad went to Iowa City, and Iowa City said, "Get to Mayo as fast as you can." And so my dad went to Mayo Hospital, and then his insurance company called him and told him that they would not cover his procedure. Now, you're talking to a 50-year-old man who has never been to college, graduated high school, married his high school sweetheart, lives on a farm, works for Mid-American Energy full-time, farms full-time, and he's now told that he can't have his life saved because the insurance company believes that he doesn't deserve it. Well, I work for the insurance company, and so he's just like, "Squirt, fix it." I was like, "Okay." Well, I fixed it, and I became his personal insurance agent, I like to say. My dad had surgery in March. It was a 14-hour surgery with 22 people in the operating room. He had a chondrosarcoma. It is a tumor that grows out of your bone, and there's less than 10% of a chance that it will grow from a bone in your head, and that's where his was. He got it from a concussion in high school. My dad is 50 years old when they found it. It was that slow growing. So all of a sudden, they start sharing all the secrets with me. By the way, did you know that there's going to be 300 acres with your name on it? By the way, did you know you're the power of attorney? I don't even know what a power of attorney was, okay? And so then I start looking at things, and then I start calling up all of my friends in my network who are attorneys and who are legal aids, and I said, what does this mean? And they say, it means it's time to grow up. I said, okay. So I moved home. I moved home to Carlisle, Iowa, in with my parents because I thought that I would kind of help out a little bit, you know? I've never drove a combine before in my life, you know? I was a farm kid, but I didn't participate in 4-H. I didn't do FFA. I was too busy just playing outside with my Barbie dolls in the mud, you know? So I just looked at him and I said, okay. And so I started dinking around, is what he likes to say I do. I dink. I dinked around a little bit and started growing some things. Well, in my life growing up and going through college, I worked as a waitress. I had to pay for school. I funded 100% of my education. I funded 100% of my life from the day that I turned 16 and I said, Dad, we're gonna go car shopping. He said, you better get out your checkbook. I said, okay, I'm not scared. No worries. So I start dibbling a little bit, I plant a garden. All of a sudden, there's this thing called harvest, and I'm like, wow, okay, there's all this stuff. What am I gonna do with it? And so I called up a couple of my friends who had owned restaurants. I said, I'm growing this great stuff, try it. You want it? Here. And then I started realizing, what if they paid me? If they're paying Lafredo's, if they're paying Cisco, if they're paying everybody else, why wouldn't you want to pay Jennie Smith? So I started thinking. And so part-time in the summers, I would grow vegetables, and I'd haul them into the insurance office in Ankeny, and I would keep them in the cold, and then I'd deliver them after I get off work. And so then I started networking. And when I say networking, I was a insurance agent, still am, still licensed insurance agent. And what I would do is I would grow this produce, and all day long I would do my networking. I was involved with young professionals groups, the Ankeny Young Professionals, the Ames Young Professionals, the executive board for YPI, the chamber networking events, the Rotary, the Kiwanis, the Lions Club. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And I kept giving, and then I kept learning, hey, these people are here to help. These people are here to help. And I said, okay, I'm here to help. And I went to that network and I said, I want to do this. And they said, well, you need a business plan. I said, what's that? I wrote a business plan. And 6 months later, I resigned in 2008 from my job. And in January, I opened up Butcher Crick Farms. Depends on where you're from, but on my side of the ledger, it's a crick. All right, that's the story. Here's the fun stuff to show you, and then remember, I'm gonna change your life. I'm a farmer, a foodie, a server, photographer by trade, which is part of the PowerPoint problem. Apparently, when you take 12 megapixel pictures, they're big. I'm a vocalist. I was trained in opera from Simpson College when I was in high school. I am a great karaoke singer. If you ever need anyone on your team, call me. Nature enthusiast, that's a little bit about me. This farmer didn't bring her business cards. There's a slide at the end if you want to write down my email or phone number. Please take it down from here because I don't even have a piece of paper to write it down for you on. Okay, this is what I do because everybody wants to know, oh, you're a tomato farmer. I love the shock factor. I love saying, what do you do? I grow tomatoes for a living. Huh? What do you do? I sell insurance. Oh, okay. I'm fine, my policy's fine, everything's fine. Okay, so here's a little bit about what I do. It's not that important. Germinate and cultivate heirloom vegetables on 3 acres amidst a 50-acre family farm. I grow heirloom produce. Heirloom produce, relating back to the word heirloom meaning old. I'm a young person, I do old things. Okay, so heirloom produce is open pollinated. It's a seed that's very, very old. It's not a hybrid seed. Hybridized seeds, I'll give you a short science term. Hybridized seeds have been genetically modified to produce a specific result. How many of you have seen a red and round tomato? Yeah, okay. Well, that tomato is not really a tomato. That tomato was a tomato seed that has been chemically induced to produce something that's round, something that's red, something that is no black spots, no splits, because when you go to the supermarket and you're looking for tomatoes, you want the best tomato you can find, and you're looking through all of them, smelling them. By the way, there's no point in smelling it because it's not really real. But you won't purchase the one with the black spot. You won't purchase the one with the crack because it's defective, okay? Now, that's a hybrid tomato. I grow heirloom tomatoes. I grow a seed that's never been chemically induced to produce something different than what it should be, repurposing, because that's how that seed should be. These tomatoes turn out orange, purple, green, yellow, white, small, like this size, big, like 5 pounds. And everybody looks at me, and here's a short story from the farmer's market. A gentleman and his wife were walking by my stand at the farmer's market, downtown Des Moines, and he says, "Look at those tomatoes, dear." And I look over, I said, "Come on, try a sample." And he just looks at me, he goes, "What do you think she puts in them to make them look like that?" And I kind of smiled politely, and I said, "I wouldn't trust your grocery store. Those are not the real thing." And he grabs his wife's arm, and he says, "Come on, honey, we're leaving." And I'm like, "Okay, remember, Jenny, tone it down just a minute, okay." Education, all right. So chemical-free and sustainable methods of farming. What does that mean? I'm not certified organic yet. Will I be? Maybe. That's my journey. That's my business owner decisions that I have to make. So I practice chemical-free because, one, chemicals are expensive, but more importantly, chemicals are wrong in your produce. You shouldn't put chemicals in the food that you eat. You know, there's a little rumor out there that says it's kind of bad for you. So I think that I would rather omit that from my business plan and see where the natural way takes me. Where do I sell to? I sell to Des Moines. I don't sell outside of state lines. I sell to Des Moines. I sell to 20 restaurants in Des Moines, the downtown farmers market, the Iowa Food Co-op online. I sell to friends. I drive to their house. I drop them off on the front doorstep. All different avenues of selling tomatoes. I create connections through food and community. I host farm dinners, chefs' potlucks. I have people come out to the farm and eat and talk, and I connect them because, remember, back in my previous life of the insurance agent, I was paid to network. And I think it's extremely important that when you start consuming things, it's a really intimate thing. And we've all lost sight of that because now when we eat so that we don't have to talk or look at somebody sitting across from us. God forbid your dinner take over an hour. We don't got time for that. I'm gonna change that, okay? Heirlooms at a glance. There's some of those funky tomatoes. You see all those cracks and you see, it looks tie-dye. What do you think she puts in those things? Here's my story. Here's what I do. Propagation. I germinate all of my own plants, meaning I get the seeds, I save the seeds, and then I make the little seedlings, and then I stick those in the ground and it grows a plant, okay? This is in my grandparents' furnace room. Planting, May. I don't have hoop houses, meaning I could plant earlier. So planting is done in May, and this is where we plant. Lay some plastic down, put the plants in there, they grow, you pick them, and this is how it's done. As my little niece does this right now, and she wants something, she's like, yeah. It's all by hand. The bottom part, these are the laborers. These are the workers. I got a sister, a brother-in-law, a grandpa, a neighbor, a dad, my mom. Everyone comes out to save my life because they believe in what I'm doing. They believe that I could be an insurance agent who graduated from college, and they believe that I can now sell tomatoes to restaurants. And they believe that people will believe in me to do that because it's not that abstract. They know that, as my boss could say, if you can sell a homeowner's policy, you can sure sell a tomato. Production, okay? Some of the different things that I've grown, heirloom carrots, onions, heirloom beans. Those are cucumbers. Those are some edible flowers. This is gonna make you hungry, isn't it? That's what Andrew said. Okay, different food events. I told you that I connect food and community. I've been a waitress for 13 years, and I like people and I like food. Putting the two together, it's a beautiful thing. Think about what happens after you eat something that you really like. The whole chemistry in your body changes. Think about what happens when you eat something that you really like with someone that you really like. The whole experience changes. It's not just about rationalization about how many calories is this, what time of day is it, I gotta get going. You stop all of that because something changes. Different food events. We have an annual heirloom tomato dinner. It used to be held at Les Jardins. We don't know where we're gonna hold it now, so if anybody wants to have an heirloom tomato dinner at their house, let me know. Tad Grandgeorge was the chef for it. These are some of the pictures of the tomatoes. I told you as a photographer, I love photos. I like taking pictures of things that don't move. Nothing's worse than when you go to try to take a picture of someone and they just like, you know, like, so we take a picture, they're just like, is it me? Is it taking a picture of me? Top top portion, there's that pointer, that is one of the setups for the chef's potluck. The chefs bring out their kids, their families, and you have never seen a better pissing contest in your life. It's all free, but who's going to be the chef that shows up with the pre-made pasta salad? They're gonna bring some good food. A couple of different chefs around town. Like I told you, I sell to 20 restaurants, and every single one of those restaurants, I can walk into that chef and they can say something about me, and they can say about something great about my product. Farmers Market, Diva Dinner, Mojo's on 86th Street in Johnston. They allow me to not get paid cash for my crops. They allow me to host a dinner. Once a year, I invite people that have changed my life, people that have done marketing, people that take and help me iron on patches for t-shirts, and I treat them to a meal. We had 29 women this year, and we went down to Mojo's, and they did a full meal for us, and I gave everybody cards, and they all sit next to each other, and then they start, talking, and then they start talking, and then they start eating really good food, and it's amazing how life changes. It's amazing what happens when you get out of the conference room and you get people to where they're comfortable in comfortable clothing, eating good food. All of a sudden, things happen. There you go. That's my contact information. Okay, so the anchor around my neck. I paid for my college. I have a $60,000 loan through Iowa Student Loan that I have an 8.4% interest rate on. That is $783.46 a month. That's what I pay for my student loans. Yeah. So as I was going through this transition of Dad's illness, wanting to do this operation, and trying to figure out how I could make it happen, all I knew is that I have a good attitude, and I have a huge network of people to support me, and I am located in Des Moines, Iowa, and this is the make it happen kind of place. And like I told you, you couldn't pay me to stay in the state of Iowa. When I was in college, I'd backpack 22 countries. I was just in that free-spirited vibe, grab a backpack and let's go. There's this whole world that I need to show my love to. And what I realized when my family got ill, that I needed to show them a little bit more love. And then, in turn, they gave me a whole lot of love. So what am I doing, and how did I get here, and why am I changing who I was to do this, especially with such a financial burden? I do this because I believe that I have built a foundation. I have surrounded myself with people that make things happen and people that believe in me. And I do it because I believe that I'm going to save what matters to me the most, which is my homeland. My homeland is in Carlisle, Iowa. And I didn't want to be the kid who had to move home at the time when I had to sign off the papers and be the executor, and I didn't have anybody there to teach me about it. It was important for me to live it and to own it now. Even if that means that when I quit my job and I took my suit off, I got rid of all of my affiliate memberships, and all of these people that just thought so much, as my account executive title held, came into a restaurant and they saw me in my server uniform, white button shirt, black tie, apron on, and I'm just standing there, and they just looked at me, and I remember the first time it happened, I was at Chentra Restaurant. I was waiting tables at lunch right after I quit my job because $783.46 a month, that's a lot of tomatoes. They looked at me and they said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm great, why?" They said, "What happened?" And I said, "Nothing yet, but everything's about to be." And that's the attitude. Because the second that I walk into that restaurant as a server, and I walk in with people who are still in college but taking a semester off, really hungover from the night before, smelling like really good dope, and always needing to get off early for something, that's the attitude's the only thing that keeps me knowing that I'm creating a movement that might not pay me a whole lot right now. I only charge $4 a pound for my tomatoes. It's not a whole lot of premium compared to say a whole life policy. It's the foundation. It's the attitude that I constantly give myself, and the network that I continually go back to. They love the concept of, insurance farmer to tomato sales. It's brilliant, who wouldn't love that story? But it's those that I go back to, and when I say, okay, I'm in the red, okay, I need 10 people to help me pick 4,000 pounds of tomatoes, and 2 people have called off for the day. It's those people that I talk to, and you know what they never say? Well, you know, you could probably go back to being an insurance agent. Or, hey, you know, I've got somebody that can possibly, you know, hire you. They just know me, and they know me because I make people know me. I touch your heart. I'm very affectionate, I'm very intimate, I'm very touchy. It can get me in trouble sometimes. But it's the network, it's Des Moines, Iowa. It's who you're talking to, and it's the people that you meet outside of maybe a stiff environment or a networking convention. Friend of mine, Adam Steen, I'm sure a lot of you know him, started with Mitch Matthews. They did speed networking, what was that, 4 years ago maybe or something? And this concept was, you know, so new, and everybody thought it was a great idea. And then little do we behold, we find out, well, we need to tweak it a little bit because people are just kind of doing this still and still doing this, okay? And so we want to tweak it and tweak it and tweak it. And once you start realizing that maybe it's just how you're talking about yourself, and maybe it's just about the attitude that you carry consistently. We're going to have highs and lows. We're going to have good days and we're going to have bad days. But you must feel it and you must know it. And you must know that you have built the proper foundation. As I always hear from my father, too. You have to build the good foundation. Remember when I was 16 years old, I'm like, Dad, why do I have size 11 feet? If anybody, size 11 for women is a big foot, okay? And he's like, because you need to build a solid foundation, squirt. The only benefit to having size 11 feet is the fact that nobody in college could steal my shoes because they couldn't wear them. But it's that foundation piece, and I'm talking about the foundation that's in your heart. And those of you that are choosing to stay here in Des Moines and you're choosing to work for someone, work for yourself, repurposing your attitude so that you know, how do I want to say this? Sorry, I'm going to pause for a second. Believe in what you're doing. Believe that other people can help you. Don't believe that you're going to do it better. I was talking down in the front row. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to grow the best tomatoes. I don't grow the best tomatoes, but I grow them with a passion. And then all of a sudden, people start saying, have you had her tomatoes? They're the best tomatoes you've ever eaten. And they're the best tomatoes that people have ever eaten because I'm the one that tells my story about them. If I could go back and change anything, the one thing that I would change would be to get rid of that concept of knowing that the whole world was a better place than where I was currently at. And it took me a couple years of experience, and it took a couple key people in my life to help me realize that it wasn't about everything else and it wasn't about that vast world. It was about what I was doing about it right now. So thank you. Thank you for accepting me as part of Des Moines. Thank you for accepting the fact that I went from an insurance agent into a tomato farmer. And come try some Butcher Creek Farms tomatoes because I swear they're the best you'll ever eat.